welcome to the first interview segment of the program this morning on ITV, and we will be looking at economic issues that translate to the growth of Nigeria's economy. And by this time, we're looking at the presidential directive to the Central Bank of Nigeria to carry out some operations that will ensure that Nigeria returns to a place where it exports its crops outside the country and makes so much gain from it. And that order was also meant to stop smuggling of some products that we can produce in Nigeria. We would recall that in 2016, the Central Bank of Nigeria stopped issuing its forex to some 41 items. Those items were reviewed to one more was added to make it 42, and that actually saw Nigeria becoming self-sufficient in the production of rice. And this time around, there are about 10 cash crops that the central bank says the president has asked it not to give its forex to these, importers of these goods, and for those who smuggled, their accounts will be verified and determined, and an action will be taken against them. Now, I have in the studio a renowned professor of economics. He'll be talking to us, telling us what this portends for Nigeria's economy, and he's no any other person, no less a person than Professor Ken Ife. Welcome to our studio once again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's kick the ball rolling. What does this presidential directive, portends for the economy of Nigeria in the next 4 years, or let's say 5 to 10 years?
I think is absolutely important that we have this. And what it is he picked 10 produce, by no means the exhaustive list, just a small number.
It should have been more than that.
Yeah, I mean, we have more than 44 crops that are eligible for this category. But then it's very important that we focus on a smaller number of value chains and make impact and concentrate resources in those. And the success will drag the rest of the economy. Now, those crops, of course, we have rice, cotton, maize, palm oil, cocoa. Then also we have poultry, livestock, dairy products, and also aquaculture. There are about 10 of them. And the directive is it follows from the restriction of those 42 items by CBN. The presidential directive says focus on these 10 and make a difference and work towards self-sufficiency. And you know that we have been hostage to all sorts of imports of things that we can produce. And then the second thing is that we're not consuming as much of what we produce. And that's where the Presidential Order 3 comes in. Presidential Order 3 tries to improve the local market for the produce, the things that are coming, by encouraging government agencies to buy and support what we produce locally. And that's very important because it will transmit to procurement. For example, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has given a list of the products manufactured and made in Nigeria, as well as the list of manufacturers that are here, so that in their procurement, there is always a premium for local content and local manufacturers. There's a premium of anywhere around 10% in competitive bidding processes. So that is very important. And that sends a very clear signal to foreign people you want to come and manufacture in Nigeria, that they are guaranteed government patronage. That is a very strong signal to them, irrespective of whether they site in the 34 export-free zones or wherever they site their thing, that they are going to have government patronage. So that's the state of play.
Okay, but Prof, some people are complaining that this restriction will make Nigerians suffer for a while. Some are making the argument that when Korea and Japan wanted to develop, they shut their nation and started looking inward. So we are trying to look inward now by this policy. So is it true that this policy is going to make Nigerians go through a whole lot of difficulties for several years?
You have actually, I don't see the analogy between what we are trying to do and what the countries you gave example. They shut down. We haven't shut down.
Okay.
What I hear is I am not going to accept smuggling of goods into my country.
Okay.
Because smuggling erodes our customs revenue. Do you understand? And undermines the productive capacity of our country. Then the second thing is, it says I'm not going to allow dumping of goods in this country. And dumping is not acceptable. Because what happens in dumping, there are two aspects of dumping. There is one where foreign governments and foreign entities subsidize their products to come into the country. And so it's not a fair competition. Even, and that completely undermines our productive capacity, production systems and processing. It undermines all of that.
Because the ones coming in are cheaper.
They are much cheaper, much more cheaper and subsidized. So it makes us less able to defend ourselves. Then the second aspect of the dumping is that they are bringing in substandard goods because they are missing inspection regimes like NAFDAC, like SON, and all of that, and then going straight into our food chain. And some of this, you have to know that's bioterrorism, all sorts of things. You see, you hear about plastic rice. There's so many things that are so injurious to the health of the nation. So on both counts, they're going to be tough on those. And CBN has read the Riot Act. When I attended, as you know, on Friday, the stakeholders, it has consulted 5 times. It's consulted the governors to make sure they are on board, because 48% of the economy is in the hands of the governors and subnational entities. It's consulted the associations, it consulted those who are currently playing in these fields, and actually delivered $30 billion naira to them to say, look, I want to encourage you to produce more. And then it's consulted all other new entrants wanting to come into the game, which is what happened on Friday, and explain to them that they will have support. The CBN is going to handle clearing, land development, seed supply, input, other inputs like fertilizer tanks that we are now blending a lot of. We have so many blending plants in Nigeria, blending, what's it called, fertilizers. And we should still start exporting the fertilizers, which is a major drain too on reserves. And then all the way to processing and all the way to the market. So it's what I call end-to-end intervention. And we haven't been having this kind of intervention, level of intervention. You've seen it succeed in Anko Burowa's program on rice production. So those are extended to these 10 items now. And having said that, the language has to be strong on compliance. We have to comply. Compliance is something that is missing in our policy frameworks because we don't take these things seriously. When you don't enforce compliance, you might as well not do anything about it.
Is it because there are no impunitive measures enough to deter those who...
And no, it's not just having them. You have them written inside the books and regulations, but nothing happens about it. What happens is that people take advantage of those. So that's why it's targeting people's accounts, and it's really serious about the directors, the managers, whoever is involved. And he actually looked in the eyes of the existing players in the field and said, look, I am going to come for you.
And I know you are here.
Yeah, I'm going to come for you. And I know you. I know all of you. I'm going to come for you. You can't go under the pretext that you are producing this and then quietly behind the scenes importing them, sending them to the Republic of Benin and then bringing them through the border. It says we've had enough of it.
Okay. Now we saw 42 items. We saw rice made a significant impact on that list. I know some people started producing toothpick too, because before that we were using our foreign exchange to import toothpick into the nation. And I saw some people who started producing too. Now, let's take a review of those 42 items before we come back again. What impact did that make in terms of increasing the index, the manufacturing index of Nigeria, from before those items were banned to the next 3 years when they were done within that space?
Well, we have seen there has been a consistent rise, almost 2.5 years now, on manufacturers' purchasing index. That has been in perpetual rise. And that is a signal that the manufacturing sector is picking up. But also, there is a special window for SMEs in the Forex exchange, in the Forex scheme. And then also you have the exporters, investors window, which is doing extremely well, and which is a clear evidence of attempts to liberalize the Forex regime. And then you've seen nearly $50 billion have exchanged hands in the last 2 years in that thing. And if you see where we started, if you remember, by 2016, the Forex available to CBN went down from $3.2 billion a month to $1 billion a month. The reserves came down to nearly $26 billion, dropped to very dangerous levels. And then while the demand for Forex was about $4.66 billion. So now that we have had all these restrictions, there is strong demand management of our currency. And the things seem to be still, we've had steady. The test of that pudding is on the Forex stability. We now have, it doesn't matter where the level is, it's a 350 or 360 to $1, but it has kept steady for about 2 years. And that is because the CBN is managing the demand for Forex. At the same time, managing the currency as well, because we haven't got the luxury of free fall in our currency. The impact on inflation will simply swallow up everything, and foreign investors will be running out through the door.
Okay, I was thinking, talking about 10 of these cash produce at once. We're starting with about 10. Isn't this too much in the hands of the Central Bank of Nigeria to manage? I know it was quite easy to do some sort of livestock and rice production together. Now we have about 10. Do we have the capacity to manage this efficiently and ensure that we get a targeted result at the end of the chain?
I think it has. What has been the problem? The approach. As I told you, that the approach is end-to-end. Unlike previous attempts, the previous attempts target a segment of the value chain and then target a segment of the stakeholders, where you have, for example, some intervention program where the access criteria is that you have to have a balance sheet of 350 million naira and 300 million naira and all that stuff. So this program focuses on both. It has a two-lane approach. It allows those who are in and the big boys to lead, but also it reaches out to the subsistent farmers and includes them in the supply chain, which Anchor Borrowers program did very well. You have Outgrowers program where an anchor aggregates the produce and gets involved in training the smallholder farmers and have some extension workers who go out and meet them and supply them input and then offtake over some period of time. So that structure he is allowing to go in to make sure that everybody gets empowered down the line, jobs gets created, and you don't have to be employed by a big farmer before you can get into the act. So stay where you are, the policy will reach you. Associations and cooperatives, they're all in the mix. So that's one ingredient that will make it very resilient. Then the selection of the crops and the fruit and the seeds and seedlings are of the highest grade and yield. And then those are going to be given to them to improve yield. And it's not just produce food and then we'll lose 30 to 70% of them to post-harvest losses. But there are processing, investment in the processing segment of the chain to be able to process and then and manufacture. So that also makes the linkage very robust. So it has all the signs of clear deliverable.
Okay, Prof, I don't know if you agree with me on this point, but we know that not so much is done in our research institutes, to ensure that we have new varieties, improved varieties.
But NIFOS is producing the palm ones.
And yes, whereas we have 10
capacity.
Years, we can reduce it to 2 or 3 years. So it
but that's what
it means
we're
going to be importing so many of those improved varieties into the country.
No.
So does it make any difference?
AITA is a partnership with federal government, and they say they have capacity, and they have cassava variety. Our traditional cassava gives you between 15 and 20 metric tons, 18 metric tons a year on rain-fed agriculture. And they have variety that could give 40 to 45 tons a year, which is more than twice to 3 times. And they have not complained that they don't have enough stems to give or seedlings. And they are in the act. They are involved in this. And of course, the situation demands emergency. If we have to import some seedlings to get this whole thing going, then we import some seedlings. It's better to import seedlings that will multiply 100 times or 500 times than to get the end product where we don't even have any jobs coming out of it.
Okay, we are talking economy here and talking about the presidential directive. And I've been talking for the past 20 minutes with Professor Ken Ife. He's a renowned economist and he's also a consultant too. Now, looking at the presidential order, what link do you think is missing? What should have been added in that order that has not been added that would have made a laudable impact?
The presidential order is very balanced because it has 3 perspectives to it. It has a supply-led perspective where it is saying, I want you to focus resources on these 10 items, end-to-end, produce. Then it has a second perspective that says, I want to act on the demand side to encourage establishments and those lots to consume what we produce, including government entities. Okay. Then the third one is he knows that these things can turn into a story if there's no enforcement.
Enforcement, yeah.
And then he says, I'm going to support you. I'm solidly behind you. You go after the miscreants and deal with them. And that's it. That it's got all the ingredients. What then may happen at some stage is really for other policies to kick in. For example, I would expect the trade ministry to support this action very, very rigorously because they can make so much, there's cases that they can make, particularly to WTO in relation to safeguard measures, why we have to do this, explain. Because countries could retaliate when they feel that you are unduly targeting them, just like what is going on between America and China. So that means that we will go into some negotiations with some countries and say, for example, say to China, wait a minute, you are in trouble with America, come to our Nigerian export processing zones, we have 34 of those, come and manufacture this thing here. And then we guarantee you 40% will be bought from you, guaranteed, both from our government establishments and the economy. And then you can use us through AGOA to go back to sell some of these to America. And also to the continent, to at least West Africa on ECOWAS. So, they can have it, but we have to make the case. We have to say, look, we want to work on a $100 billion package with you on agriculture and agro-processing. Your people will come in here with your machinery in our export-free zones. We will invest, and then we will supply you all the raw materials. And we will also off-take them. And we're a conduit for you to avoid this 25% duty tariff that has been imposed by America using AGOA. So we have a good case there.
Okay, there is this call on Nigeria to quickly sign the Continental Free Trade Agreement. Now, you just said what Nigeria needs to do, the deal Nigeria needs to broker with China. Don't you think that some of these nations that are producing this produce will also have that synergy with other African countries? And if Nigeria gets to sign that agreement, their what they're producing in those countries can come into Nigeria, as in another way of smuggling of their products into the country again, since there is that agreement?
Well, we haven't signed it yet, as far as I know.
In case we sign it? In
case we sign it, yes. The jury is out on that. But we have part of 500 million ECOWAS, 450 to 500 million ECOWAS population. And we have no problem with ECOWAS because we have a mass movement.
As you wake up in the morning, the first thing in the mind is knowing what is going on around you.
Follow and get an up-to-date analysis on issues on governance, politics, economy, among many other current and burning issues in both local and foreign scenes.
Most Nigerians have found out the truth about governance now, presently. And we say no to it.
They are not interested in anything about us. They are interested about our resources. Yeah. They came to Nigeria, deceive us with the word AIDS.
On ITV's breakfast show, this morning on ITV showing from Mondays to Thursdays at this time.
So you're holding an event.
And you're looking for someone to film it? Do you regularly hold industry-leading religious or political-related events that you would love to get professional coverage for?
Or have you used event production companies in the past that just don't get it?
Because if that's you, don't worry, you are in the right place.
ITV, in conjunction with Airline Solutions, bring your event live on TV. You heard me right, live on this station. Be it political events like campaigns, religious programs, weddings, etc. We got you covered. On the ground and in the air with our professional drone shots, you are sure of complete area coverage. Make that event of yours talk of the town with Airline Solutions. Our team of professionals with state-of-the-art equipment will make your event ready for viewing immediately after the event on any format of your choice.
What are you waiting for?
Contact us today.
For booking, contact our marketing office, ITV Communication Complex in Papi, Abuja, or call us on 0803 7755 024, 0805 643 0509, or 0803 539 7151.
ITV Live, we got you covered.
I sincerely apologize for that breaking transmission. But before that, Prof was talking about if Nigeria gets to sign the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and we were asking, wouldn't other countries come into Nigeria to produce, to other neighboring countries to produce and still bring those goods into the country? And Prof was saying we have about 450 million population in ECOWAS, and that is not our issue. Now, Prof, back to you. Wouldn't there be smuggling through the back door into Nigeria?
Sorry, say that again?
Okay, the free trade agreement, if Nigeria signs it, and other nations that are producing some of this produce chooses to come to the neighboring countries in Africa and produce and use that window to come in, wouldn't that be smuggling through the back door?
Smuggling is smuggling. Wherever you see such smuggling, we'll tackle smuggling. The thing is, if you give let me give you the example of ECOWAS. In the ECOWAS, we have a protocol of free movement of goods and services and capital and right of establishment. And the goods targeted here are primary goods, primary raw materials, agricultural products, primary. We say they can move around. So there's no question of smuggling on that. But if you have processed goods, if you process the food, it enters into another category called ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme. Companies producing this must register with ECOWAS on these schemes. And part of the registration formalities requires rule of origin. You have to demonstrate that at least 30% input has gone into this process. So it's not just take something in and throw it in. No, we can't do that. And secondly, we have to register your capacity. And there's an analysis of the product to see how the value addition has occurred to meet the rule of origin. So, and then there's the other one, which is once you register and they know your capacity, then you should not be expected to bring into Nigeria more things than what
you registered for.
Yeah, and that's what they tell me when I go to the border. That's what because some people say. So when you come, they say we want to go and see your factory. They go back with you to go and look at the factory and try to establish all that stuff. So those are the operating. So I don't see how that is going to affect, because we all have possibilities of producing in Nigeria, sending to them, and they do and bring it to us. But we haven't signed that agreement. So when we reach that bridge, we'll cross it.
Okay. All right. And the last time you were here, we talked about implement. We were talking about implements, and you made specific, comment on tractors, on the need to have more tractors. Now we're going into a bigger field. How much of this need do we have to get into the country?
Yeah, you see, there are two things. One is our agroecological food currently being produced is shrinking and shrinking because of one, the crisis in the northeast, the terrorism in the northeast, and then you have the banditry going on in the northwest. And then you have clash of two production systems in the north central, which is the livestock is clashing with the food production system. So what's what you call herders something?
Farmers
yeah, so that's right. So that is shrinking our footprint. So what we needed to do are two things. One, open up more virgin lands, which, as you see, about 1.4 million hectares have been pledged for palm produce by 14 states. More states are joining. And then the cassava, we were expecting that by the next 12 months, they would go into 1.5 million hectares. In fact, Kogi alone is pledging 500,000 hectares for cassava, let alone others. But these have to be cleared, and they have to be destumped, and then they have to be made tractorable, so that the tractors can move in and do ridging and harrowing and plowing. And then you can mechanize the entire process. So it does require a high tractor density. We know that, and our government is making strong effort. They have a partnership that has pledged to bring in 10,000 tractors over 5 years, 2,000, and then a lot of money. Government is putting a lot of money to make sure that happens. And it's not the same as bring them and dump them. Every year they won't work. No. There is a clearly well planned and orchestrated scheme where a network of equipment hiring agents across the whole country.
You bring them and you mobilize them immediately.
They take them in fives or so, and then they serve the customers, the subsistence farmers. They serve them. You get the services of tractor without having to own a tractor. So that is the thing. It is such a wonderful scheme that can match the ambition of the volume of business we want to do.
Okay, now talking about oil palms, what gestation period? How many years? Because we know that we have about 5
varieties.
Yes.
That I expect within 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
And also the financial planning around the scheme is to grant them moratorium consistent with the gestation period for the plants. So. And you know that in the case of rice, it's a smaller gestation period because you can get 2 or 3 seasons, a rice cycle in a year in rice. So, but in the palm, the moratorium is extended to 2.5 years to enable you plant, start harvesting before you don't have to start repaying.
Okay, Prof, before we go, just this last question. We're looking at the next 4 years. What impact do you think, if well implemented, this presidential order will have on Nigeria's economy in the next 4 years?
One, there will be less hemorrhage on our foreign exchange, our foreign reserves. Two, there will be millions of jobs that are going to be created. Unbelievable millions of jobs. Then the output, the food output will be horrendous. And bear in mind that our population growth rate is 3.2%. The growth rate of agriculture is lower than that. The growth rate of our GDP is lower than that. So with this huge input coming in, our GDP will be jumping up and down. So we know that. And the agricultural growth rate will exceed the population growth rate because AU expects the agriculture to grow at 10%, with 10% of the budget being invested in agriculture. In our EIGP plan, we expected to get into 7% by next year. So we do need to have this action to make sure that we can feed ourselves. And there's also another beneficiary, which is the NNPC, because they themselves have a program to do 1 million hectares of cassava and sugarcane to provide them the stock, the feedstock for bioethanol. And with bioethanol being produced and distilled and refined here, then they can do E10, which is 10% ethanol and PMS, and then they blend them so that they could be used safely by existing cars. So that would also reduce our imports and subsidies being given to petroleum products and the demand on foreign exchange. So, and then at the same time, give us clean energy. And they reduce the pollutions that we are having in our environment. So, on both counts, the impact is going to be pervasive.
So much benefits there for this policy if it is well implemented, and Prof had emphasized the need for implementation and to deal ruthlessly with those who are consistent defaulters and those who want to make money by smuggling and bringing in goods into Nigeria. The much we can take on this segment of the program. We must thank you sincerely, Prof, for coming on the program to share your wealth of experience and your expertise with us on the program today. Now Nigerians have gotten to know what the presidential order is and how it will benefit Nigeria. And we'll now take a quick break, and when we return, you'll be having two beautiful ladies on set here to tell you what the Star Times is doing. We'll take this break.